The series begins with Dr. Dorian Brower meets with the Ogre Mulgarath to secure the freedom of his daughter, Calliope. However, they discover Calliope has been substituted with a changeling. Brower meets a grim end at the hands of a troll, enabling Mulgarath to assume Brower's guise and identity. In the present timeline, Helen Grace and her teenage offspring, Mallory, Jared, and Simon, relocate from Brooklyn, New York, to their ancestral Spiderwick Estate in Henson, Michigan, following Helen's divorce. Helen seeks aid for Jared, who grapples with oppositional defiance disorder. As they acclimate to their new abode, the Grace family, particularly Jared, encounters a string of inexplicable occurrences. Simon's pet mice vanish, and Mallory's sword sustains damage. Mallory faces rejection from her sword-training mentor, Valentine. Helen's visit to her Aunt Lucinda at Mescockie Mental Health Hospital takes a troubling turn when Lucinda undergoes a sudden psychiatric episode. Following Jared's encounter with the brownie thimbletack in the attic, Helen, initially skeptical, hastily arranges a crucial meeting with Dr. Brower. Jared initiates counseling sessions with Dr. Brower, while Calliope strikes up a friendship with the Grace children. Aunt Lucinda escapes from the mental health facility, prompting Helen and Dr. Brower to coordinate a search. Amidst the search, Dr. Brower seizes the opportunity to win over Helen, who harbors bitterness towards her ex-husband, Richard. While taking refuge in a supermarket, Lucinda encounters a fairy. Meanwhile, Jared endeavors to convince his doubtful siblings and Calliope that there is a boggart inhabiting the Spiderwick mansion, employing a surveillance system. Jared becomes the scapegoat when an unseen force ensnares Mallory's hair and tragically claims the lives of Simon's pet mice, Lemondrop and Jeffrey. Later, Simon and Jared come face-to-face with Aunt Lucinda and Thimbletack in the late Arthur Spiderwick's study. Lucinda entrusts Jared with the task of retrieving her father's field guide before Mulgarath can seize it. Shortly thereafter, Helen and Dr. Brower arrive to escort Lucinda back to the hospital. During the journey back, Lucinda unveils the truth. Dr. Brower is actually Mulgarath, and Calliope is his accomplice, framing Jared for their misdeeds. Mulgarath seemingly dispatches Aunt Lucinda, who dissipates into a shower of flowers. The Grace family comes together to mourn Aunt Lucinda's passing, presumed to be from a heart attack. However, unknown to them, Calliope has taken on Lucinda's appearance after her mysterious disappearance. Under the guise of Dr. Brower, Mulgarath assigns Calliope the task of ensuring the Grace family remains at the Spiderwick estate. Meanwhile, Jared and Simon persist in their quest to find the missing pages of the Spiderwick field guide. They enlist the help of Brower's patients, Emiko and Hatcher. Using Lucinda's beloved music, Jared unlocks a hidden fairy door containing one of the elusive pages. Calliope cleverly embeds herself into Simon's confidence as well. Mallory, on the other hand, recruits Bree, a student of Valentina, to spar with her. However, she soon discovers Bree's deceitful alliance with Valentina against her. Tensions escalate when Lucinda's sister, Melvina, in a fit of anger, destroys a crucial page of the field guide. Jared's attempt to contact Thimbletack ends in a mishap, resulting in a broken arm and a trip to the hospital. There, he exposes Dr. Brower as Mulgarath by serving him cookies laced with iron. Bree's father, Tanner, spearheads a protest demanding the closure of Mescockie Mental Hospital, alleging the patients pose a threat. Helen, now the hospital's librarian, defends Dr. Brower when Tanner attacks him. Emiko steps up to shield Jared by admitting to vandalizing Brower's car with graffiti. Helen uncovers the hospital's history, revealing it was erected to honor the indigenous Mescockie tribe, credited with saving settlers from a demonic-induced hysteria by Mulgarath. The Grace twins, along with Emiko and Hatcher, capture Thimbletack and forge an alliance to retrieve the pages of Spiderwick's field guide. In an attempt to commune with Lucinda's spirit, Jared mistakenly summons a mushroom sprite. A rift forms between Jared and Simon after a heated argument, leading to a physical altercation. Feeling hurt, Simon joins Calliope and Dr. Brower for dinner. Meanwhile, Mallory attends a ball at the Spiderwick Estate accompanied by Bree and her boyfriend Chris. Mallory confronts Bree about her betrayal, just as Mulgarath contaminates Henson's water source with a sleeping potion, causing several partygoers, including Chris, to pass out. Mulgarath wants to start breeding dragons. He intends to sacrifice Henson's residents to them. In a race against time, Jared and Thimbletack embark on a quest to locate the elusive Spiderwick journal entry on dragons. Despite their efforts, Jared is disheartened to uncover Helen's burgeoning affection for Dr. Brower, echoing Thimbletack's caution about the repercussions of being loved by those close to him. Meanwhile, with the assistance of Calliope, Simon ventures to New York in pursuit of his father, Richard Grace. Their journey is fraught with peril, including an encounter with a cannibalistic Chinese kitchen god. Simon's hopes are dashed when he realizes Richard has little interest in reuniting with his children. However, amidst this turmoil, Simon comes to terms with Calliope's supernatural identity as a fetch, fostering a newfound understanding between them. Mallory, on the other hand, acknowledges Jared's earlier revelations about fairies and endeavors to reconcile with him. Her path leads her to a confrontation with Valentina, a human nymph hybrid endowed with knowledge of the fairy realm. In a bid to uncover Valentina's secrets, Mallory challenges her to a duel. Although Mallory falls short of defeating Valentina, she manages to sway her by professing her love for her family, ultimately securing Valentina's cooperation. During the Henson town hall meeting, Mulgarath, pretending to be Dr. Brower, decides to infect Tanner with a zombie fungus. This causes him to abandon his petition to close Mescocky Hospital. Jared and Simon's relationship strains as Jared suspects Simon of aligning with Mulgarath and Calliope. As Mulgarath's dragons face demise, Simon tries to retrieve the dragon page but is ensnared by Thimbletack. Valentina confesses her failed attempt to assassinate Mulgarath, resulting in her losing her hands. Bree shares the tragic story of her mother's murder by Mulgarath. Valentina assigns Mallory the task of obtaining a magical sword capable of defeating Mulgarath from the goblin market. Amid Jared's growing paranoia, Mallory persuades him, Bree, and Hatcher to negotiate for the sword with a cunning goblin merchant. However, they discover the sword to be merely a hilt, sparking Jared to lash out at Hatcher, destroying his therapy helmet. Dr. Brower manipulates Helen into believing Jared needs psychiatric intervention. Despite Lucinda's encouragement, the magical sword selects Bree as its rightful wielder. Jared finds himself confined to the hospital, following a routine dictated by Dr. Brower. His daily grind is interrupted by a momentary encounter with his mother and a failed escape attempt, leading to a swift return. Dr. Brower introduces Jared to a salvaged page from the field guide on ogres, challenging Jared's perception of truth with a demonstration of the consequences of lying. Through a puppet show, Dr. Brower weaves a narrative of human deceit and ogre isolation, aiming to evoke sympathy from Jared, who notices Emiko's absence during his stay. Guided by a fairy, Jared discovers Lucinda's recipe for vanishing tea, which aids Emiko's awakening. Jared's family, at Dr. Brower's prompting, visits to express concern over Jared's behavior, adding to his confusion and isolation. Even Hatcher's visit leaves Jared feeling distant and estranged. Emiko suggests Mulgarath's manipulation, leading Jared to question the authenticity of his interactions. Dr. Brower's puppetry reveals a sinister twist, suggesting Arthur Spiderwick's involvement in controlling magical creatures. Jared's distrust peaks when he mistakes Simon for an imposter, straining their relationship further. As Dr. Brower unveils the dragon page hidden within Jared's cast, Simon races to provide an antidote for the sleeping sickness, affirming his loyalty. Meanwhile, Helen's clandestine investigation confirms Jared's suspicions about Dr. Brower's true nature. culminating in a chilling revelation of human fingers in the doctor's possession. Dr. Brower and Helen stockpile milk for the dragons, but their errand takes a sinister turn when Dr. Brower transforms a store employee into a mushroom zombie. As Henson succumbs to rapid sleep, Mulgarath prepares for a monstrous feast with the acquired dragon page. Thimbletack orchestrates Jared's escape, leading him to Mallory, who is camouflaged with mushroom tape to evade detection by the zombies. In the forest, Jared confronts Simon, finding out about Simon's deception to glean information about Mulgarath's scheme. Simon reveals he procured the antidote crafted from dragon seed, revitalizing Bree and Hatcher. Their plan to vanquish Mulgarath with the Vorpal sword hinges on Bree's wielding it, but Jared abruptly departs. Back at Spiderwick House, Dr. Brower orchestrates an extravagant dinner, coercing Helen into formal attire. Meanwhile, the group strategizes Jared's return and Simon's ruse, prompting a tense exchange where Simon expresses both hatred and love for Jared. Simon escorts Jared as a captive to Spiderwick Estate, deceiving Mulgarath's followers. Simon implores Calliope for aid, persuading her with dubious arguments to provide the antidote. Jared and Helen plot their escape through Manchineal, relying on Helen's memory of the tea recipe. Calliope aids Simon in enlisting sprite assistance against Mulgarath. In the attic, Bree and Mallory discover the hidden field guide, but encounter Tanner, transformed into a mushroom zombie. Amidst dinner, Helen and Jared evade Mulgarath's detection by becoming invisible, facilitated by Lucinda's guidance. Make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.